Of the day here on the Schilling Show. Jenin Younes joins us, Litigation Counsel at the new Civil Liberties Alliance. An interesting situation developing at George Mason University. Jenin, welcome, and thank you for joining us today on the Schilling Show. Great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
Okay, so this is the first time I've hosted a guest from the new Civil Liberties Alliance. Maybe you could tell us just a bit about your organization.
Yeah, we represent people who have had their civil liberties infringed upon. We focus on the administrative state, so mostly agencies. However, we do some cases against governors as well.
Well, we're glad you're there, and caught my attention because I see something similar happening at the University of Virginia. George Mason University, tell us about their reopening policy.
So George Mason's reopening policy is they're requiring mandatory vaccines across the board for students. Students can seek exemptions for religious or medical reasons, but then they're subject to all sorts of other requirements. They have to wear masks, socially distancing is really sort of punitive. They won't be able to experience the learning and campus experience that they should have. Employees, it's not framed as a mandate. They're quote-unquote encouraged to get the vaccine, but again, if they don't, they're subject to these requirements, masking, social distancing, which obviously impede their ability to perform their professional responsibilities. They can try to seek an exemption to teach remotely, but again, obviously, you can't be as effective of an instructor if you're teaching remotely. And employees also are faced with potential disciplinary action. Now, it's unclear. The university sent an email on July 22nd saying that those who did not comply with the vaccination policy would face disciplinary action, including possible termination and or unpaid leave. And then they put a version on their website that didn't contain that paragraph, but they never said that the email they sent around with the threat of disciplinary action no longer applied. So it seems that probably that still stands. And if it doesn't, it's unclear to the recipients of the email that it doesn't.
We're talking with Jenin Younes, Litigation Counsel at New Civil Liberties Alliance, something going on up at George Mason University. So tell us about Professor Todd Zywicki and what his concerns are.
So Professor Zywicki is a professor at the law school, and he has had COVID and recovered from it, and he has robust natural immunity. He's had many antibody tests. He had one very recently in June that shows that he has immunity better than most of the vaccines, better than all of the vaccines, actually, in terms of the antibody response. Professor Zwicki's doctor, Dr. Human Norchasm, maintains that if you've had COVID and you have the antibodies, you're at a heightened risk for adverse consequences from the vaccine. He thinks there's a significant amount of data showing that. And so he's provided a declaration to that effect. And we have two other scientists, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya and Dr. Martin Kulldorff, who are co-authors of the Great Barrington Declaration. You may have heard about, attesting to the strength of natural immunity and the fact that it's almost certainly better than all of the vaccines. And so it simply doesn't make sense. It's an arbitrary policy, and the professor is required to put his health at risk or risk harm to his career, by being unable to teach as effectively as his colleagues who have the vaccine.
So, Jenin, what is the legal premise here?
So we believe that Professor Zwicki's constitutional rights are being violated under the 9th and 14th Amendment. He has the right to decline medical treatment. There is substantial case law to that effect. And he also has the right to decline a vaccine authorized under the Emergency Use Authorization Statute. There is a part of the United States Constitution says that if a state law or policy conflicts with federal law, then the state law falls. The federal law is supreme. And the federal EUA statute requires free and informed consent and says that recipients must be permitted the option to refuse products. They must be informed of the option to refuse products authorized under it. And it's our contention that coercing people into taking this vaccine conflicts with both the letter and the spirit of the EUA statute.
So what has been the response, if any, from George Mason?
George Mason hasn't responded yet. We sent the letter to them demanding that they exempt Professor Zywicki from the vaccine mandate and that they treat him as though he were vaccinated. on the 22nd, the 21st on Wednesday. They sent the email the following day, sort of doubling down on their policy. So we don't know if that was in response to it. It seems as though it could have been. And I haven't heard anything directly from them.
And what if an individual at George Mason University had not had COVID? Would the principles that you referenced, the legal principles, still be in favor of their position as well?
So it's my position and belief that similar principles would apply. I think you have a very, very strong case when you have someone with natural immunity because you simply can't show any state interest. In order to infringe upon fundamental constitutional rights, you have to show a compelling state interest. I think one could fight about whether everybody getting the vaccine, if they don't have natural immunity, everyone having some sort of immunity could be better for the health and welfare of the campus. I believe the scientific literature is quite clear that doesn't help, because really what the vaccine does is mostly to reduce the risk of severe disease in the recipient who gets it, the person who gets it. And in any event, they work pretty well. So it just doesn't make sense that we need everybody to be vaccinated to reach herd immunity. And I also think under the 9th and 14th Amendment, people should have the right to decline medical treatment, and that's especially so given the EUA nature of the vaccines.